going to start off with two little ornaments here, and you can use whatever you have on hand. I've got these little decor eggs from Dollar Tree. I've got some Dollar Tree stickers and some Dollar Tree transfers, two different kinds that I'm looking at. One with beautiful flowers and the other just a black and white with a bunch of words on it. Okay, to start with, we're going to take the tags and the original hangers off of these eggs. And decide which one of these transfers we want to use first. I want this to be a background. And this is a really easy way for me to do it and see exactly what's going to go on it. So I just kind of lift up the top part where the transfer is, and I put the egg on the inside. I'm going to push it down because it'll cling to it just lightly. And then I can burnish that down. I'm just using a Mod Podge squeegee here to press all that down into the paint that is on that egg in the background. I love the vintage look of this transfer. Dollar Tree did a very good job on this, I think. So I'm just going to make sure I have it all down. I'm going to go over where the cracks are. I'm going to go around all of the edges very carefully. You can use a popsicle stick for this too, I believe. And then carefully, I'm going to peel it away. Now, some of the transfer is coming off. I'm not going to put that back on there. I'm going to leave it off because I want this to look vintage and aged. So there may be some overhang on there. We'll be able to just rub that right off. You can just rub it off, or you could sand it off, but it came off pretty easily just with my fingers and my hand. And again, just making sure everything is down and in its place. On this one, I'm going to take the little corner and just go right down in each of those slats to really make that pop and appear as though it was hand painted or written onto that egg. Next, I am going to choose my little bunny ornament, and these little poppets I got from the thrift store. It was a big package and I use it all the time. So when you're out thrifting, be sure that you look for things that maybe you wouldn't normally look for or use. A lot of times people look for bigger pieces because it's a good value when you're thrifting, but also be sure that you take time to look. I think with mine they put it with the books. Sometimes these things are in with the kids' toys, and I also find my art supplies that way, like paint and paintbrushes. They'll be in with the kids' stuff. So once I have that down, and I love it because they're foam and they make a great bit of dimension, which will go ahead and put a shadow back there and really make it pop off the background. I'm just going to place it down, press it into place, and it will cling there without any more work. You don't have to glue it down. I'll take the leftovers of these Dollar Tree flowers, and these are trimmed in a gold, which I thought would be very pretty to go with this yellow egg background and the vintage, the little vintage pop. This isn't exactly what I would call Victorian. It sort of starts that way in the background, but then on the top, we're getting a little into what people refer to as retro. This is also thrifted. This is some ribbon. I'm going to cut it off, and we're going to use this as a new hanger. There was already a sheer ribbon on there, the yellow one, but it was very wrinkled and kind of sad looking. So I decided to just go ahead and use the white for that. I'm just going to tie a knot, and this is so simple. This is a very easy knot. And then I'm just going to pull that, and that will hold it in place. I didn't want to use jute on this because, again, I want to keep this kind of retro looking, so I'm going to use the little ribbon, and I'll pull that around so the knot sits right in the hole. And the ribbon is cut at a slant, so it'll give it a pretty look, a little pretty finish. And I'm going to glue it on the back side. Be very careful with that. Don't burn yourself. And then once it's dry, you can lay it back on your table. You don't want to glue it to the table. This is how this one looks so far. Very cute. You can add more flowers. You can add anything you want to add. And with that said, I think this little bunny needs a bow. So maybe this is a boy bunny and a girl bunny. I am going to make 2 girl bunnies because I have 2 daughters. One of my daughters is going to have my first grandson very soon, and we're excited about that. And then my younger daughter is still in elementary school. So these are going to represent my 2 girls, I think. And I will cut this little simple bow off. I'm going to keep those tails very short so it doesn't take away from the bunny's cute little face. And I'll place it down right there on the top, right by her ears. And I think that gave it just the right touch to finish this one off. All right, so let's start on the second one. So these beautiful transfers came from Dollar Tree as well, like I mentioned. And I'm going to decide how I want the egg behind it, how I want to put that on there. So I'm just going to lay this one sideways so I can get a lot of those big roses in there. Same process as before. I'm just going to burnish this down. So what else could you use for this if you didn't have a squeegee? A squeegee popsicle stick. You could use your fingernail. You could use the end of a paint stir stick. It's square and wood. That would work. I don't want to use metal because I don't want to tear anything, and I'm not really sure how sturdy these are on this backing. So I'm just showing you here how you could do that if you wanted to do it with the end of a paint stir stick. I always have extras of these paint stir sticks around, and I don't throw them away because they're great for little things like this. And also bridging pieces together in the back. So another little money saving tip there for you. Go around those edges good. You don't want anything to be loose. Then just to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to cut the excess off of this one. There's a lot of detail in this. And begin to pull it up. There again, you can see there are some pieces that didn't stick down, and that doesn't bother me. Look how pretty this red and green looks on this yellow. I could not believe it. So I'm just going to use my little squeegee to go around the edges and make sure that that is nice and smooth. I won't be pushing down and indenting in those cracks on this one. So again, here are our thrifted little poppets. You peel off the front, you peel off the back, and you push them down. I know Dollar Tree has something similar. I'm not sure they're as small or as thick as these. This just makes it a lot easier for me. If you don't have them, you can always just you could just make this just purely a Dollar Tree project if you wanted to, and just go pick your supplies up from there. You could paint your own ornaments. They always have a variety of little wooden ornaments that you can fix yourself. These particular ones came from TEMU. I am not sponsored by TEMU. I just wanted to try some products, and I really, really like them. So here's a thank you card that I got at the thrift store. Got a package of them, and I love them because they're so Victorian. And I am just pulling off the raised areas, and they have the little stickers on the back too. So every little raised piece that I can take off and use again, I'm going to reuse it. You can also use stickers, whatever you think you would like to use, but I love how these looked with this. Again, there's some gold trim in it, which really screams vintage to me. And I just think that is the most adorable little thing. So we're going to put the bow on this umbrella. She's got a little parasol down here, and I'm going to put it right on that little umbrella, kind of where the stick attaches to the open part. Then I'm going to add some of the little bundles of flowers. I put one on her bonnet. I think I put another one on her bonnet. Yep. And then we'll add one more right here on the side. And they're at different levels, but they still stand away. So the 3D look of this I really like it. It's different. We're going to make a different tie for this one, but we're using the same ribbon. Gonna go through it, and then this time I'm going to wrap it over on itself and just tie it like this. And it only takes one knot. You don't have to tie it twice. It's nice and tight. This one I'm going to leave the knot up there at the top. And then I grabbed the remainder of this gold cording that I used at Christmas on my Victorian creations, and I will use this to go around the edge of this one. A little more gold, a little more pop. You know, from what my viewers have told me, Victorians used a little bit of anything they had around to make their creations. So why wouldn't this be on some drapery or maybe off of an old dress? I think it works great for Christmas and holiday projects, but it really brought a little extra something, a little more richness to this ornament, I think. But you can let me know what you think. This video is part of the Thrift Flip Road Trip, but I'll give you a little more information on that in just a bit. Be careful when you get back to the end that you don't have a bunch of frays and nasty stuff. Overlap it slightly and cut on a slant. Any extra bulk just push to the back. You can see what I've done here, so that the front has a nice finish. And you can't really tell where it starts and stops. I like that. It's kind of hidden behind the ribbon. Arrangement, so I found this little can at Goodwill. Oh, I fell in love. I just knew what I wanted to do with it. We're going to use some scraps of foam, some of these eggs on a pick, also thrifted. And I think every floral that I use here, yes, all of these were thrifted, and then I have some more I'll add in the end. They were thrifted. This is another one of those TEMU ornaments. She's so cute. Look at her little bonnet. So of course, when you're doing florals, you're going to need some foam to hold it in place. So I'm just going to cut. I got a table, and the table came with all of this foam. I saved this foam. It is the fantastic quality. It doesn't peel or flake off. It's easy to cut with my little Dollar Tree knife here. We want to finish off on the top with some green so that you don't see the white. I had scraps. That's all I had, or I would have used green for the whole thing. So we're going to cut these off, and my first cut is going to be to see how tall I want the arrangement to be. And I know that I want it to be about this size. So I will try to cut the rest of my florals and greenery so that they are that size or shorter. I cut the leaf off of this hydrangea, and I will save it for another project if I need it. Then I want to pick what is the front or the back, and I realize, look at the writing on here. Can you see what that says? So you can see that where it came from in case you're looking for one. It was probably like for candy or something like that. Maybe nuts. Sometimes you can get mixed nuts in those types of little cans. You might have something around the house you can use. You can even cover an old can of corn or beans with some pretty paper and use that. And I'm just going to start adding everything in a little bit lower than I added my roses or my ranunculus, whatever that is there, except for the greenery, of course. And I picked up a little rosemary and added to it. I've got some black-eyed Susans, and I'm putting these in a group of 3 instead of separating them because black-eyed Susans grow in sort of like bunches. You would see them in little clusters. Just like that. They grow along the side of the road in the ditches where I live, and they're just beautiful, I think. Then I had some random scraps of different types of greenery I've added in there. I mean, it's springtime, so, you know, let's do it right here. Let's make it springy. And by all means, if you don't want to do Easter themed, you don't have to add the Easter eggs and stuff like that. You could use a can that doesn't have Easter eggs on it. You know, you could do it that way. I'm just going to keep adding all of these little wildflowers and these pretty little flowers that I think would match and look good with the theme of the other pictures that are on this can. I don't use purple much, so I was thrilled to be able to use the purple today. And I love the way that purple and yellow look together, or purple and gold. Maybe it's because, you know, I've lived in Louisiana, so everybody loves LSU in Louisiana. So I'm not a sports person, so I don't know, but I did see a lot of it there. And it's very comforting to me to put these colors together for some reason. No place like home, right? All right, so I'm going to continue to add. This is a Gerber daisy. Very pretty. It's the only one I had, so it's by itself, just like the little hydrangea, just hanging out there by itself. I have some thrifted baby's breath. I really like the way this baby's breath looks, but you can get the ones that are like the little foam balls from Dollar Tree that I think they have named baby's breath. They're kind of messy. They're not quite as realistic looking, but they'll work for your project. You know, you want to put different textures and different colors. So look at all the color and texture in here. Mainly golds, whites, and purple. And the beautiful flyaway greenery that's in there. Love it. So we need to make a pick out of this little girl ornament. I'm going to place her down. I'm just taking a pick that another floral came off of. I saved these things, y'all. I got a jar full of them. And I'm just going to place it on the back, cover it with a little bit of scrap paper. And then we'll place her down in there, a bit off to the side, but still kind of toward the top. Move the little things around so she is not blocked. We want to be able to see her. Isn't that sweet? And then here's one of the floral picks. I have another one, this one that is kind of yellow and peachy. It's got little chicks on it, very cute. We're going to add that one in too. You can bend them if they're on wires, remember that. All right, so far so good. Always look at it from all angles to make sure you don't have holes or places that don't look balanced. I've got some little speckled eggs, not sure where they came from, maybe Dollar Tree, maybe they were thrifted. I'm just using a gold one and a white one and placing those down, and I think that was the chef's kiss. Mwah. Yes, I think adding those little eggs. I'm going to take some ribbon that I was very, very fortunate to find thrifting. The burlap ribbon, and then I got some ribbon that looks like Dollar Tree ribbon, so you could use that. This is a little paper egg, probably had candy in it, but look how gorgeous these pictures are. Oh my goodness, look at them. They're precious. I got these from a store called Dirt Cheap. I paid 50 cents a piece for each pick, and we're going to use 2 picks. These are some thrifted dogwood pieces, and also some thrifted willow pieces. You see there? It's the same theme as in there. Okay, now I have a grapevine wreath that I also got thrifting. I never buy my wreath forms unless they're wire from Dollar Tree. And we're going to begin to place these down. Now I took my hanger off the back because I didn't want that to be my decision maker of where I put my pieces of greenery and where I put, you know, how it looked in the end, because I like to move things around. So I just took that off, and we'll make another one in the end. I'm going to weave this pick, the first one, through here. I always fluff them out, you know, you want to fluff them out. Then using some floral wire, also from the thrift store. My cutters are also from the thrift store. We are going to weave it through that grapevine wreath and over the wiring for the greenery. And this is going to make sure that it keeps that curve and that it doesn't fall. You can cut your edges off or turn them back to the back and then fix those back the way you like them. I'm forever fluffing. If you followed me for a while, you know I'm forever fluffing. I cannot leave it as is. I've got to mess with it. Then we're going to put a piece along the bottom. And this will be the bottom. This is not going to be a typical round wreath covered completely around. We want to see that wood underneath, or that vine underneath. Same process as we did before. Wherever you need to use floral wire to help you place things down, do that. Using the floral wire will allow me to go back in, cut it off, and repurpose this greenery. I can use it for another project later if I want to. I don't sell my projects. I make them for myself. I make them for my videos, and then most of them get broken back down and reused. But there are some. I have a cabinet that is full of the ones that I really love and I've kept. That might be something I could put in a video. If anyone's interested, let me know if you would like to see the projects that I have kept for myself. I can definitely add that into a video somewhere. So I know I'm out of camera angle up here. When my daughter is home and she's crafting with me downstairs, I kind of get distracted, so I wasn't really looking at how I had the camera placed in this part, and I do apologize for that. But what I did there on the side is the same thing I'm doing on the bottom. So whatever you might have missed, you're going to do the same thing that I'm doing here up there. I'm trying to take the willow branches and kind of feed them around the laurel so it kind of looks like it's all growing together. It's interspersed together. And I'm just going to have them kind of, you know, at a central point where the stems go, and then they get a little bit wider and broader as they go outward. Next, this beautiful dogwood pick. If I would have found a bag full, I would have picked up the whole bag. Dogwoods are beautiful to me. I love them. And they scream spring because they are blooming here already in South Alabama. And I love it. I'm not mad at all that winter is going. Not at all. How about you? Okay, so like I said before, what you're doing on the bottom, you're going to do the same thing over here on the side. It's not going to be perfectly symmetrical, but that's not the look that I'm going for. I still like the wild, right? Still like the wild. So we're going to be using this on the wreath, but we need a backing on it because we have to have some way to attach it to the wreath, right? I'm going to use some hot glue and just a scrap of cardstock paper. I'm going to press it down. The glue is going to drain down. It's going to, you know, funnel down onto the paper because of gravity. Then I'm going to use a stick, kind of clean it up a little bit, and go back in with my glue gun. Then I'll use the stick again to make it nice and smooth, kind of like you do caulking around a bathtub. Then we're going to trim it out. Now it has a back. It has better surface area for us to attach something. But we need to do something with the edge. I thrifted this beautiful trim from Goodwill. When I say Goodwill, I'm saying the Goodwill bins. I know a lot of people don't understand and they say they can't afford things at the thrift store. I go to the Goodwill bins and it's a little different. Little different. You pay by the pound. Okay, so now this egg is complete. And she'll be glued down to the project shortly. Let's work on a bow. I want my bow to be nice and simple. This is a simple type of an arrangement, a simple type of a wreath. We're not going to make it too fussy. It doesn't need to be extremely festive. It just needs to say hello spring, you know, saying hello spring without actually saying hello spring. So you see the kind of bow I'm making here. Very easy. I tie it with a double knot in the back. I'm going to flip that over, kind of puff it a little bit. It does have wire. And then we'll be adding another bow on top with this ribbon. If you don't have this ribbon, there's something very similar but a little bit wider at Dollar Tree. It's been in every Dollar Tree that I have been to, so hopefully this is something that you can get your hands on. I will tie this also in a double knot, and then we're going to tie the two of these together. I will tie them rather than gluing them because I want to have the ties still on there to attach them down to the wreath. We're going to take the tails and the little loops, fluff, and pull down, get it in the shape that it needs to be in. And then we can trim the tails off to a length that suits you. You can dovetail it, you can cut it at a slant, whichever way you like it. I like to cut my upper bow tails a little bit shorter so that you can see the longer one underneath. That's just my preference, but you can do anything you like here. And then I will tie it down to the wreath right over where we put the bottom row in. So right around there, and then glue down that little egg. And look how pretty this is. This is very cottagey, this is very country. I think it is so pretty. Farmhouse, rustic. It can be so many things. You know, don't lock yourself in the box of one style. If there's something that you love, do what you love. Do what brings you joy in your own home, right? All right, so now this is our hanger. And here are our projects. I've got some of these little willow picks, and these came from Dollar Tree. Some floral wire. I'm going to be cutting these in half, so we'll have 4 pieces. This little sign that I got, it's tin. I got it from TEMU. It's got little holes already in it. This is something that I thrifted. Looks like it might have come from Big Lots at one time. Just really pretty roses. And this is a wreath that I also thrifted. Most of the wreaths are thrifted. Here's some measurements for you. I like this one because it is vine, which is very rustic, and because I can just work so well with these. You don't have to use as much glue. I've got some recycled, or I'm going to be reusing this beautiful fern and some of these evergreen picks. I want it to look woodsy. You can see the size of it. It looks like an Easter egg, which is perfect. And it's long enough that I can put my sign right in the middle. So for this wreath, I'm going to go ahead and start off by putting the sign down first. I'm just going to wrap it, put it through the hole, wrap it around, and just go right through the vines all the way to the back and twist those in place. This way I don't have to use any glue, nothing's going to pop off, and it's going to stay there. This is easy to do. If you have holes in your sign and you don't have floral wire like this, you can use paddle wire, or you can use something like a pipe cleaner. You could also probably use jute. So I'm just going to start, now that we have that pretty little shabby chic sign, I'm going to start putting down some of the greenery pieces. I'm putting the darker color in the background, and then we'll put the fern on the top. So I'm just going to push these through. If you have little places like I do on this vine where it wraps around to hold the vine pieces together, utilize those. Go ahead and kind of weave that greenery in and out of there. It's a pretty look, and it also will help hold things in place so you don't have to use as much glue. If you need to grab some wiring, you can also use that to help hold everything down. And you can use a little hot glue. You'll see me do the hot glue here and there as needed. Just going to push that through. Very easy to do here. And if you accidentally pop off a piece of your greenery, most of the time you can just reattach it by putting it right back on the little spike that it was originally on. So don't worry about that. Don't let that deter you from doing your work. Now you'll notice the greenery that I'm using, like I mentioned, these are pieces that I've taken off of other projects. Sometimes I'll get a wreath that I thrift that I don't necessarily like, or it needs a little bit of extra love, but there may be some pieces on there that are nice enough to be used in other projects, and I've done that a lot in the past, and I still hang on to these. These pieces of greenery, they were also in a Christmas sleigh decoration that I did, so, you know, I'm getting a lot of use out of them. And I encourage you to do the same thing. No sense in spending your money if you don't have to. Grab what you have. I'm going to go to the bottom. Now that I've got my sides kind of built up, I'll go to the bottom and start on there. You'll notice on each side I have the greenery going upward on each side. This is not like a circular wreath where we go all clockwise or counterclockwise. This one is going up the left side, up the right side. It kind of joins in the middle. We're going to do something special in the middle that I think you might like. You see here, I'm just using a little glue, and since the greenery is thin, use something that you can help to hold those things in place where you're not putting your fingers down in that hot glue, or put your finger protectors on. Now don't be afraid to tuck your greenery behind the signs that you use. And y'all, if you don't have a sign like this, go get you something from Dollar Tree. They have some really pretty signs as well. I'll add a little glue where I think it needs a little extra support. I don't want it flopping around, you know. I want it to look as free as possible and have movement, but I don't want it to be flopping around where it might fall off or look not so pretty once you get it hung up. Okay, so now we're going to take some of those willow branches and I'll trim those off. I don't like the greenery on the bottom, but if you do, you can go ahead and use that. It's just kind of frayed on the bunches that I picked up, so I think I used 3 bunches on here because I do put them in initially and then I go back and add more. Okay, so now the ferns, we're going to start adding those on the bottom, and I'm going to do, I think I end up using 5 or 6 pieces of the fern here, but you can see what I'm doing. Sometimes I get out of the angle of the lens on the camera, and I apologize for that. In the moment when I am feeling the flow, I just go with it and I just keep creating. But you can see, I always try to show you, the final results in the end. You definitely get a good look. And then I'll pick this up and show you from time to time so you're getting a good look of what's going on in case you've missed anything. Now I'm going to do little bunches of 3. This is not going to be symmetrical at this point. This is going to be more wild and rustic and woodland looking, right? So you could say rustic, you could say woodland, and you could also say vintage or shabby chic for this because it's got a lot of different elements. Feel like you have to lock yourself into the box of being a creator who only does farmhouse or who only does rustic. Play around with what you're creating, and if it's bringing you joy and you really, really like it and you're having fun with it, there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfect for you and that's perfect for me. So if you need any little extra help with your greenery, just, can glue it to each other. Really easy. This is kind of a plasticky fern, and I do know that you can get little fern picks at Dollar Tree as well. Now I'm going to add the willow in. I've got them all cut in manageable pieces. It pretty much will push straight down into that vine wreath, which is wonderful. I can reuse a good vine wreath over and over again. All right. Now I'm going to add, and sometimes I'll move things around when I get them in. If I don't like the position they're in, I'll just move them around a little bit, which works for me. And I don't have glue on here yet, so I can do that. Then when it's exactly where I want it to be, I can glue it in place. I'm going to continue along here and add some around those fern pieces. And you can see that I have one of the bunches of ferns higher up than the other bunch. If you want yours to be symmetrical though, you can definitely go straight across from it and do it that way. And if there's any pieces that you don't like in your project that I'm using, I always encourage you on this channel to make it your own. Go ahead and make whatever colors you like. I've chosen these colors and the little roses here because they match what I have in my sign. But you can certainly play around with any colors that are springy or Eastery to you. Now I'm going to add a little bit of glue here, and then I'm going to use a couple of pieces of that floral wire to put straight down into that wreath and without squishing up the greenery I have under there. So I want to make sure that I kind of weave it through so that everything else still has movement, but that these roses will not fall off. So I'm making almost a hairpin shape here and feeding it through across the wire and into the wreath below it, and then I'll twist it in the back. Always go back and cut everything off because you don't want to scratch your door, you don't want to scratch your wall. I'm going to make these look a little more wild by just kind of weaving the flowers around the greenery and vice versa. One more little pick down in here to hold that around in its place, and I really like that. Now these are some eggs that I got in the gardening, I guess it's the gardening section from Dollar Tree. Really like them. I think they're intended to stay in the carton because they had glue on them, but all you have to do is just pick that hot glue off of it and you can use these anywhere. I've also picked up this knife here, which is a styrofoam or a pool noodle knife, and it works really good on these little eggs. So I'm trying to get a flat side here, and I can stretch my dollar here by using one egg in 2 different places. So I'm going to add this part of the brown egg over here, almost like the bunny has hidden some eggs, and then I'll use the smaller piece on this side. Again, kind of tucked into the greenery so it looks like, perhaps it's time for the egg hunt. And then I'm going to add some right here in the bottom. Just adding one more egg here. I just thought that it needed a little something extra. And then the little bits of greenery that I have left, I'll just poke those in here or there. If you want to stop at this point, you can certainly hang it right off the back of that wreath. But if you want to do a little extra, I'll show you how to make a small bow to go on the top. You might like this, or you might like a rag bow, whatever you prefer in yours. And I'm just going to fold this over on itself. This is about, it looks like about 8 inches, right? So I'm going to fold this over on itself so I have 2 loops on the left and 2 loops on the right. Okay, that's just me counting, looking down in there to be sure, and then I'll just trim that off. And I will get a piece of jute. I'm finding my center here in case you're wondering. This is kind of how I decide where the center is. Kind of pinch there. All right. Then that piece of jute, I'm just going to put it across the top, flip it over, and then tie a couple of knots into the back. I'm going to hold it nice and tight because I don't want my bow to loosen up, and I don't want my jute to be too loose because when we begin to fluff out this bow, I do not want to pull my bow apart. So it's very important here. All right, nice and tight. Now I'm going to make a tail, but you don't have to have tails on yours if you don't want to. I'm going to kind of push it around on the side, and if you want to make a different type of bow by, in your hand where the tails are already included, you can save yourself some time, go ahead and do that. I like to be sure to show everybody, no matter how long you've been crafting, little ways that you can do it. So we don't want to leave anybody out by doing anything too fancy on every project, right? We don't want anybody to feel excluded. So then you can just pull your little loops apart. I initially pulled them in this direction, and then I went back later and then just reversed the pull so that I had the ones that are on the top will then be on the bottom. It doesn't really matter either way. I decided that I liked the shorter bow tails here instead, but I wanted to show you both. That's easy. Got my little slant tail on there. It doesn't cover anything up. Everything looks good. So now I'm just going in with the leftovers that I had and just kind of picking those in here or there, giving it that wild, beautiful, rustic look that we all love. So this is a basket that I have thrifted. I have used it in previous projects, but it's looking a little sad. It's very dry and it needs some conditioning. So I'm going to use a little clear wax to bring it back to life. Always clean first. It's easy to clean a basket with an old brush. I'm going to grab up some greenery. Use whatever brand, whatever type you like. I like that these have a little dark green and light green because it looks like new growth, which is perfect for spring. Some more of those eggs, a couple of leftover floral picks, and then some beautiful flowers. So I'm not sure what flower this is. You can tell me what this is. And then these beautiful cream and dark pink roses. They have sort of a waxed leaf. Absolutely beautiful. And I happen to have 3 of these, and they have 3 on each branch. They're all identical. So just to show you how to do this, in case you've never waxed your wicker or your baskets, you just take a brush and you're just going to dip down in there and go into all of the spaces on the basket, on the handle, on the bottom, all over. This is conditioning that wood that is used to make the baskets or the vine, or depending on what it is. And it's just going to bring that richness back and take that kind of paleness away. You can do this to your vine wreaths too if you would like. See the difference? Here and there, I'm kind of showing you both. All right, you're going to let that dry for a few hours and then go back with a dry, clean cloth. And remember, when you were doing this, rub with the weave of the basket so that you're not tearing and snagging your rag and damaging your basket. And then I think it looks so much healthier and better now. It's very nice and rich to me. This basket happens to have kind of a high side and a low side. It got a little bent, but you see to the left is the high side and the low side is here. So that's going to be the front. The other side will be the back. I'll take these fern pieces and start tucking these in. These are not the best quality fern. They're very plasticky, but they came in a huge box that I got at Dirt Cheap. They have this new store next to Dirt Cheap where I have been going in a new location where they do like Amazon overstock. So they sell their things for like $5 and well, my daughter was helping me shop and she found so many boxes of florals and greenery that I have just a tub of these, and that boxwood or eucalyptus, whatever that is, that I will be adding next. Just, I couldn't even believe it for $5, right? Craziness. So I'm going to go all the way around the edge of the basket, about inch and a half apart with each one. Just fill it out. Nothing special or fancy about what I'm doing. In between each of those and a little toward the inside, I'm going to start a ring of these pieces of greenery. And I'll go all the way around. I don't want anything to be taller than the handle of my basket. It's still going to be our Easter basket, right? A very pretty Easter basket. A little play on it though, because this is going to be more like a grown-up's Easter basket. Now I'm going to go in right in front of that, between those, and add in, just for a little more fullness. So two rows of that. And then this beautiful flower, I'm going to go ahead and trim it down. I'm going to cut the greenery off, but hang on to it because I'll be using that to put back into here later. Then I'll start adding down those pretty roses, cutting those down so that nothing, is totally covering up the handle. We worked hard to get that basket looking pretty, and I want to be sure that I can still see it. Then I'm going to add in another one. And since these are the same, I'm going to kind of pull them around and position them differently so it's not really obvious that they're exactly the same. And then I'll finish up with the roses by putting one in the front. So we also have a triangular shape here on the top between the roses. 1, 2, 3, like an upside down triangle, right? And then the other flower on the other side. I'm just going to pick some of the greenery back in. You can always wrap and add extra greenery. You can use like a floral pick if you have short pieces to kind of extend it so it's a little bit longer. And whatever extra greenery I have, I'm going to add that back into there so I don't have any open spots. Now I'm added in the other greenery back into it. Just, why not? It looks pretty and wild and rustic, and I really like it. So now let's get some of those picks and put the eggs on them. And all my little picks were short, so I did have to go back, but you'll see that in a minute, and I will lengthen one of them. Add them in, just kind of turning that arrangement. Always, when you're doing a floral arrangement or an art piece, turn that thing back and forth. See what needs more, see what needs less, what can you reposition, what can you move. I'm going to just kind of fool around with the greenery. I want to make sure that everything is exactly as it should be. I don't want anything sticking out too far, anything that's too close. You get my drift. Kind of weave the greenery around each other and around, you could even do it around the handle of the basket to really make it pretty. So I'm just going to add a longer pick, and it's just a wood pick, and I'm going to add it right up here on this side just to finish this one off, and I like that much better. So we're going to get 3 projects out of this. These are a part of a banner from TEMU. If y'all need links to anything that I'm showing you here, just feel free to question me in the comments and I'll grab them for you. You can use fabric or paper, you can use ribbons, all kinds of good stuff. You're going to need several paintbrushes, some paints. I love using chalk paint. Look at these beautiful, beautiful spring colors. These are gorgeous. So pretty. And then I've got these boxes that I got for Halloween because I thought these would be great for doing book stacks any time of the year. This one's actually it's hard, and the other one's more of a paper. You see, this one's stuck together. The other one will open. And I'm going to choose colors. So we've chosen the cards, and the colors all coordinate nicely with them. For some reason, the last few bottles that I have gotten of the chalk paint from Walmart have been like oily, and they require like a ton of mixing. Ew. Okay, so in between layers of paint, if you'll take a wet wipe and roll your paintbrush and set it aside, as long as you're not waiting for hours, you can grab that paintbrush and you'll still have a wet brush. You can use it again. To see, this one is so much better, but this one I got, I think, on Amazon. But again, same with the pink. Very streaky. I just don't get it. The blue and the peach here, I had to do 2 coats of, but not the green. When everything is completely dry, we'll be using Mod Podge to attach our beautiful card pieces or banner pieces down. Now I've chosen the ones that look best with the colors. kind of gotten them coordinated, and we're going to do something a little bit different to each book, okay? So we'll start with this one, and we're going to tear the edges of this. Now, hold your fingers up close to where you want your edge to be so you don't rip all the way down into your page, and that will make your tear exactly where you want it to be. Does that make sense to you? And then you see it's got all that chippy edge. Very pretty. And the paper part is sticking up, so when you put down your wax to age it, you're actually going to see how it clings to that paper underneath. So if you did make a mistake and you only want it on the edges, you could easily take a damp, just slightly damp baby wipe or paper towel and wipe that back off of your picture. But for me, the more aging, the better. So I'm going to continue around here and just build this up. And like I said, you can wipe off anything that you don't like. After the paper part is done, I'm just sort of blending it by putting little dots, just dotting my little finger all over that. And we're going to let it dry. Needs to be dry before you move on because we don't want to knock the wax back off, right? So we're going to put it aside, let it dry, and then we're going to put some Mod Podge on the book, and we can put the dried piece down. If you have a thing about exactness, you can go right ahead and measure, but I don't do that. So I'm just going to take my squeegee here and just kind of push it down into the Mod Podge. The reason I'm using the dishwasher Mod Podge instead of a regular Mod Podge is because it's a bit thicker, and I need something that is going to hold the thickness of this card in place, or this banner piece in place. So it works well for that. Now using this sponge brush, I can kind of dab into it and just go all over the edge to hold it down. Plus, it's going to give a texture on the book, which you will see. You can feel it. You won't necessarily see it after it's dry, but when it's wet, you can see all the little peaks in there. It gives a very nice texture to your book. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. We're going to go on to the green one now. I'm going to use just this little shape that I believe I got this piece maybe from Dollar Tree, maybe. And I'm going to use it as a template on the back side. I'm going to cut it out because I couldn't find my pencil, so we used a pen. And then I'm going to go around the edge here, all the way around the edge, so the white paper is not going to show. It's going to be sort of outlined, I guess you could say. And then I'll use my finger dauber, and I'm just going to pat that around, pat, 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 all the way around until I get it almost like a cameo. I want that little girl to really stand out. I want the attention on her and the little chick that's on the bottom. You see she's holding a kitty. She's so cute. I love these little vintage cards. And then once that is dry, y'all look at the paint and stain on my hands. Isn't that craziness? That's what happens when you're dedicated to your job, though. You just wear it. I just wear the paint everywhere. Okay, so now I'm going to drop her down on there where I think I might want her. Then I thought, let's move it down a little bit. We don't have to be typical and put it in the center. Let's just move it down. And then I'm going to use my little squeegee again and try to get this in place. This little squeegee is a Mod Podge squeegee. Good grief. And it is kind of rubbery. It's not as hard as the other ones, so I don't have to worry about scratching my paint back off. Now, this one I'm just going to originally do by painting over it solid, and then I'm going to go back over and just dab it around in there. Dab, 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 and get that all over it. It's going to help keep those edges down for sure. I don't want any of that peeling, and it's also going to look consistent throughout the entire book cover. It's also going to be across the page. You didn't see that, but I went across her in that area too, and the inside of the card. Now it's for the one that actually opens, the little opening box. We're going to put this little baby on here. There was no little baby boys, so that's why there's all girls here. I'm going to trim that down. So you saw I trimmed her down, and then I'm going to add this on here. You can't see a lot of the Mod Podge on there, but I assure you, there's a lot of Mod Podge on there. Just not enough that it's going to squish out when I try to do the squeegee. I'm not that messy. Not intentionally, anyway. I didn't do any aging on this card yet. So, like I said, I'm going to do everything a little bit different. No aging on this one yet. After I've got that down and I feel like it's sealed well on there, I'll go ahead and go around all of my edges, and then I'll go around the entire card. Keep it going, keep it going. You know, you could also use cards. If you found some Easter cards that you really like, even at Dollar Tree, you could certainly use that as for this. And you could always use like blocks of leftover wood to make your books if you wanted. So I thought I would try these doilies and just see if they would actually show up. Well, I'll tell you now that it does not show up very much at all, but I'm going to leave it in here because, you know, it is what it is. I'm just folding it over the edge to see how much I want on there. It is going to cover up the words Easter greetings, but, you know, that's okay. If you wanted to cover something up, that's the main idea here. If it was something that you want to cover, maybe it was a birthday card, but you really love the picture, but you wanted to cover up the happy birthday part, you could do it this way. And if you wanted this to be only spring and not Easter, then you could also possibly do it this way. But you can still see the writing through here. I put 3 different little sections or rows on this that says Easter greetings to make it look like overlapped lace or like a tier of lace. So here's the second one on there. And then there will be a third one. But I just could not, it just went right through and you can still see it. So it didn't necessarily work for me, but maybe I could have painted it underneath first and then done this. I don't know. Totally up to you whether you use this step or not. And if I would have used a glue stick on here, that might have been better too, because by saturating it like that, it just looks more like a frosted look on the corners. But you know, you live, you learn, and it's crafting, right? And I still like it. I still like it a lot. So these tiny, tiny little pieces that somebody went through all that effort to do, I have had in my stash of thrifted stuff for a long time. I think someone was attempting to put maybe a tablecloth or something together. Well, I never used it. And then I thought, well, I don't want to use it until I use it for something special because somebody really took a lot of time. But you know what, y'all? Look at it this way. It could sit in a cabinet somewhere or in a box somewhere, never be loved, never be seen or appreciated by the light of day or anybody. Or you can get those things out, give them new life, and enjoy them now. I want you to start thinking that way. Okay? If they once brought you joy in some way, and they apparently did for me if I picked them up, that means I really liked them, right? Then I need to use them. Bring them into my home now and use them for something that I really like. So I'm just using the Mod Podge to lightly tack these down. We need to let them dry, of course. And let's go back to the green book while it is drying. I'm going to take some of this very pretty Dollar Tree lacy ribbon, and I'm going to put down the bind of this book. I cut it a little bit bigger than I needed it because I want to be sure that when I glue it down, I don't have to stretch anything too tight and I don't have to worry about, you know, when you glue something down and you don't measure, kind of like me, then you have a gap at the end and one side's overlapped. I don't want that. So if I leave a little bit extra, I'm not wasting, I feel like I'm saving my project, right? So I want enough that it's going to overlap and go down into the bind of the book. This is just me. If you don't want to do it this way, you can cut it off right across. Totally up to you, but I like the look of this. I'll do the same thing here. Protect your fingers, y'all. I've got this little spatula that came in a group of mini spatulas. Don't even remember where I got them from. They work good for these kind of projects too. Protecting my fingers. Alright, so to decorate this book, I decided to use some of these beautiful stickers. I've picked up these rhinestone stickers and I knew I wanted to use them with some vintage or Victorian or some shabby chic stuff. And I love shabby chic in the springtime, y'all. It's not typically my thing, but in the springtime, it's just so appropriate, I think. So I'm just going to choose 3 that I really like and I'm going to put those together. And I'm going to put this little purple one right on the side. Now, I like that. However, if you don't like that, you don't have to do that. You could use ribbon to go around the edge of your little girl there, or you could use it to go around the oval, whatever you want to do. Now I'm going to age the book. So I'm just using that same antique and wax. I'm going all over the edges, and I'm letting it kind of kick up there on the oval with the card in it. I'll go around, 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 until I get it as aged as I like. Don't forget to do the back of your book. And of course, we're going to be doing the pages as well because those are a little too white and bright. I'm also going to do the side of the book, and I'm going to use a little bit of wax. It is barely any on this brush at this point. I don't want it to look like it fell in some mud. I just want it to look dirtied up, you know, like well loved, I guess. Y'all know what I mean. If you're watching my video, you know what I mean. And then I like to have the shadow toward the bind of the book and then kind of feather it out toward the side. It just gives a more authentic look, I think. Makes people take a second glance. Now look at this pretty ribbon I have. This has also been used in other projects. This I got thrifting. Pretty little flowers. And I thought, let's add just a strip of this down and then a couple of more strips on the front. It's a very pretty peachy tone. It's very nice. Same thing here. I trimmed off a little bit more than I actually needed. Once I get it glued in, you can go back in with some smaller scissors and you can trim off the parts that, you know, are overhanging a little bit. And then I'll go down the back or the spine of the book. Then I'm just showing you how I kind of trim that off. Then I'll cut a strip for the top and a strip for the bottom and attach that down with a little bit of hot glue. Protect your fingers for this part. I actually do use my little spatula over there, but I don't leave all of that in. I don't think y'all want to see everything I do in the video. I'm going to trim this off. And then I don't want it to fray, so after I get this top part done here, I'll show you what I do to keep it from fraying. I'm going to go right down over here, press it into place, cut off any of the excess, and then right where the edge is, you can add a little bit of glue there. Y'all, my kids are off for Mardi Gras break, and I am telling you, the phone calls are just interrupting all in this voiceover, so I hope y'all don't hear ringing. I hope I can cut it all out. Okay, next step. We're going to be aging this slightly. I'm not adding a lot of wax to that ribbon. I love the ribbon. I still have plenty left. Again, for people who love vintage things, they may be having a heartbreak right now watching me do that. But then I will always say to you, it can sit in a box or we can use it. Correct? Yes. Okay, same thing here. We're going to get in there and just really wipe that wax around. And y'all don't be afraid of wax. It's not paint. You can wipe it back if you get too much on, okay? Here she is, looking all cute and Eastery and old, like an old school book. So sweet. So on the inside of the one that is the box that opens, you can take some decorative paper or some scrapbook paper or whatever you have. If you want to open it up to use it, put little treasures in, or maybe hide some candy in. Reese's peanut butter cups, y'all. You know, if you want to do something like that, you can. If not, you can glue the top shut. Okay. Now I'm aging the side too. I'm aging the little doilies there. I know that's not what they are, but we're gonna call it that. So I have some verbiage for it. I'm going to go all the way around my edges. Also going to do that on the inside of the box because I want the entire thing to be, you know, consistent all the way through. And this is how this one is going to look. So these are the projects that we did today. I got 5 projects for you, all new for Easter. And I hope this is something that you enjoy. So who would like to help me reach 100,000 subscribers this year? If you would like to be part of that number, consider subscribing to my channel. Give me a like and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything in our community post or that's going on in this channel. I wanted to remind you today, just like we make unique pieces on this channel, I wanted to remind you that you're unique. You're unique. You're special, you're wanted, you're important, you're valued. I appreciate that you come to my channel and you spend time over here watching me, listening to me just blather on about who knows what. But I always find it important to tell you that you can do things, because I don't want anybody to feel like they can't. I don't want anybody to give up on anything. I want you to learn that there's really nothing that you can't do if you set your mind to it. It is important to me to make people feel better through crafting, to make people feel appreciated, important, and heard. And when you come to this channel, I really do hope that that's what you feel when you're here. It's not to me just about making crafts and about showing you how to do things. No, that's not all it is to me. It's letting you know that I care. It's creating a sense of community and giving you the value that you want. And I thank you so much today for stopping by. I got some of these little ornaments from TEMU, but you can use whatever little ornaments you can find, or you can cut up some cards. Doesn't have to be these, but these just happen to be like a wood with some beautiful little Easter pictures. I'm going to use a small wreath form. And then I've got some ribbon that I thrifted that I like, very Eastery and spring colors. And some of these little felted balls in some colors that are going to coordinate with what we're using. So I am going to be starting on first we're going to apply down the ribbon, and then we'll flip the wreath over, because we definitely want to be using the flat side. Normally we would use the rounded side on the top, but since we're going to be putting flat objects down on it and it's going to be almost like a low profile kind of wreath, we want to make sure that we use the back, which is flat, because it'll give us an easier surface to glue down our pieces to. So you can see how we're doing it. Very simple. You just wrap it around. If you want to save your ribbon, make sure that you're just overlapping it. When you get back around to the end, you can wrap it. And since the mounded part will be on the back, we're going to just flip that ribbon over, give it a nice little edge, grab our finger protectors, and add some glue here. Sometimes when I put the ribbon down like this, it'll start to fray just a bit on the bottom. I usually just clean that up with my finger, or you can get your scissors and make a nice clean line. So now, working on the flat side of the wreath, I'm just going to lay my little pieces out here and decide which way I like it the best. And I think that this is going to be the look that I like. The colors and the spacing just works. All right, I'll grab my hot glue and start adding these right onto the wreath. That ribbon gives a nice little background, but it also gives us the space to glue down on the form. And y'all, am I the only one who keeps 2 glue guns at the ready? I do, because if I'm going with the flow, like I often do, and one runs out of glue, I just grab the other one. So I keep 2 of them at the ready all the time. You'll see me using both of them during the videos. One's a big one, a big boy, and the other one is just more of a fine, smaller one. All right, so we're just going to place all those down. You can put yours on here however you like. How cute would this be if you used like some Easter cards from Dollar Tree and just cut those out and you could put those on? Now I'm going to figure out where I like these little pom-pom balls or these little felted balls, and I'll start adding those down with some hot glue. And some of these pieces will be right on top of the ribbon, and some of the pieces will, you know, sort of overlap onto the ornaments, which is totally fine with me. There's no specific reason for the way that I place these down or how I decide what colors I'm going to put next to the other one. We just want to keep it playful and pretty and childlike. And look how sweet this looks already. I took inspiration from this from Pinterest. I actually saw some vintage looking retro wreaths and things over there on Pinterest, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to make this one my own. And I encourage you to do the same. So now, using a thrifted piece that was kind of sad looking, I'm just going to grab the greenery off. I'm going to take these little flowers off. You can cut the little plastic on the back and lay it flat if you would like. And then I'm going to place these flowers down where I have the 2 instead of the 3. I'm putting the little flowers on there, and I'll start adding these little berries here and there. I like the playful colors, and I like that it's that delicate little daisy flower that we're using. I think it looks really sweet with the project. And you know, you can take a little glue if your flower's trying to fold and just place it onto your little ornaments. Now, if you don't have these felted balls. You can use little pom-poms, you can use little Easter eggs. You know, think of ways that you can change this to make it your own, for sure. I really like the way this looks. It's very playful. Now we're going to make a hanger. And I decided for this wreath, let's go along with this little sweet childlike look and let's just make the hanger a bow. So we're just making a very simple little bow with the same ribbon that we used to wrap around the wreath. I'm going to tie it, and this right here is just like a cotton twine. May have come from the Dollar Tree. I'm not entirely sure, but it's just a cotton twine, and you can use jute or baker's twine, whatever you like. And I am going to cut off the excess, and then we'll use the tails here to connect on the back of the wreath, just like that. We'll flip it over and add a little bit of glue to hold it down. And then I want to trim that off because it's a little longer on one side. That's okay. You can trim it off or you can adjust the bow to fix it so it hangs evenly. And then fluff the bow, of course, fluff, fluff, fluff always. And then I decided to go ahead and add a little flower in the middle and some berries on either side of the flower. This is a very simple, quick wreath to do, and I hope you like this. It's tiny. It would look really cute in an apartment or, you know, to give as a gift. Doesn't take a lot of space. And look how sweet it is. I love these cute little characters. So precious. Here is another look at it of our final project. If you like it, please consider giving me a thumbs up so I can continue to put out the content that you enjoy on this channel. Or mobile, however you want to pronounce it. I have a little thrifted wreath. It is just a little over 6 inches. Some beautiful vintage little scrapbook pieces. These ornaments came from TEMU. However, use whatever you like, and you can use paper for this. And then I'm using some of my little Mod Podge tools and some paper Mod Podge. You really couldn't use any kind you like. I've got some linen cord and some jute. A thrifted bead. How beautiful is this? Look at all those little pearls on there. And then I have some pearls. You can also use beads if you would like, or crystals if you would like. Like a crystal chandelier, those types would be really pretty too. Okay, so now I'm just going to decide which of these I want to use, and I made my choices. Now I can cut the papers down so that they will fit on the back of each egg, because the eggs are blank on the back, and we want to be sure we give them some beautiful color also. You could always paint the back of your eggs if you didn't want to use paper. You could take a card and you could put a card on the back of the egg, or you could put 2 eggs back to back and do that way. All right, so now we've made our choices. Mod Podge is so easy to do. You could also use a glue stick here if you choose to do it that way, or school glue, whatever you want to use. And then put it on your paper, flip it over, use a squeegee on it, use a brayer on it, make sure that it's nice and flat. And I've had very good luck with these little projects. They don't have bubbles and they don't have wrinkles. I'm going to quickly dry mine, but you can let yours dry on its own. Okay, now I am going to cut around with my sweet little detailing scissors that I now own, thanks to Jenny and Diana from the Crafty Cruise Getaway. By the way, we've already planned out 2025's cruise, so if you have not been on the cruise with us this year, or if you have and you want to go back, I'll be giving you information all year long, on and off, about what we're going to do for the cruise. And we would love to have you there because we had a blast. All right, going to continue around till all are done, and then you know me, I want to age mine, so once they're dry, we're going to age. I'm going to go around it with a little bit of my antiquing wax. And the ornaments themselves already look aged, like the pictures and everything are aged, but I want the egg to be aged. You see the difference and how that makes it pop? It's very subtle, but it does make a difference. And then you can go around the back as well. If you just want to go over the edge so that that white paper is blended in with the wood edge of any ornament that you get that's wood, you can do that. Totally up to you. Or you can go in with a brush and really make these things dark, okay? Really get them old. So I'll just go all the way around each one of these and be sure that you let that wax dry just like you would let paint dry, because if you keep touching it, your fingers will lift off that beautiful stain look and you will have little fingerprints. Now you're going to need a pokey tool. I'm going to use my awl, but you can use any type of little tool. And we're going to go through the back and into the front to put the holes back in these ornaments. Very easy to do. I just sort of feel it with the awl and then I can poke the hole. And it gives it a very pretty, even, flush look. You don't see raggedy paper poking out. You want this to be nice and clean on the inside of that hole because when you put your twine back through it, you want it to easily go through there. You don't have anything snagging, in other words. So now we're going to start actually making the hangers that hang up each one of these ornaments, okay? So I'm going to decide how long I want it to be. And I know that I'm going to need enough spaces to place these on here so that 6 will fit. We're going to use 6. This is my 1.5 foot long ruler, and I'm going to use this because it's easier for me. And we're just going to use this measurement. You're going to tie it on the top, wrap it around, tie it, make sure that all of the tied sections are on one side of the wreath. Okay, because that's going to be like the bottom section. So you want all those to be on one side. You can just rotate it and go around. Make sure that you have about the same amount that you're cutting off so that you have a good even space. Now, I know it sounds ridiculous, but just watch what I'm doing. So now I'm going to take off 1 inch, right? So now I'm going to add the next one. Then I'll take off 2 inches and such until we get all the way around the wreath. And so each piece will be 1 inch shorter than the one beside it, right? Okay, that's how we're going to do it. So now we're at the 2. I'm going to cut that off. Once we have all the pieces down like that, this is going to be the top. Add a little hot glue on it, and let it dry. And then you're going to flip it over so you're working with the top of it now. Here are all those strings. There are 6 of them. And then if you have any little sections around your knot that need to be in place, you can do that. What I actually did was flip it over, make sure that they're evenly spaced, and then glue them in place. So they're glued on the bottom where the knot is, and they're glued on top. All right? Now the reason you want to use, other than the fact that it's really cute, a bead or several beads or something on there is because this is very lightweight, and you've got to give it a little bit of weight to pull that jute down so that you don't have stuff just flying around in the wind, especially if you're going to be using something like cardstock and you don't have anything heavy to hold it down. You really need to have a couple of beads on there to hold these in place to give it that look. It almost looks like a wind chime, but there won't be a clapper in the middle. Okay, it's not going to actually make any noise. That's not the point of it, but it's very pretty hanging outside and the wind blowing it and turning each one of those little ornaments around. So we have laced it through the bead, we have laced it through the ornament, tied a small knot, and you need to try to be sure you keep all the amount of string that you tie on about the same so that the length is not affected on each cord that your ornament's hanging from. Does that make sense to you? It made sense in my head, but I'm not sure that it came out of my mouth in the way that you needed to hear it. So just watch what I'm doing. If you need to go back and watch it again, do that. So when I tie it, I'm going to try to slip that down and slip it down till I get it as close as I can and use as little. You see how I'm kind of walking that strip back through it? And you can trim off the excess, add a little bit of glue there. It's going to help hold that bead in place, and the weight of the glue is going to help hold it down as well. Okay, now that part is done. So we're going to have to do something on the top, right? We're going to have 3 pieces of jute cord for the top. We're going to flip it over. Now we're on the top. We're going to do this in 3 sections. This cord, I believe, is about 18 inches long that I cut for each one. It's up to you how long you make it, though. You could probably do it with a foot, but you need a little bit of excess on there so that you can do something pretty on the top of it and still have enough room to hang it. Okay? Double knots always. We don't want anything slipping out after you've done all that hard work. All right, and I'm trying to make sure as I lift it up that I have the same amount. We're going to do it like a pie shape or an inverted triangle. So we have 2 there on each side. We're going to go down to the bottom at the 6 o'clock position and tie another one. So where are we at? 2 and 6 and 10, maybe? And now we have, I'm checking to see that my ends are about the same length. That's going to keep everything the same length. One of them was a little bit longer, but I'm going to show you that it doesn't matter, and you'll see that in a minute. I'll show you what you can do. So now I'm going to pull these up in my hand right above the middle. I'll lift it off the table to make sure that it is even above the table. So you want it to be level. You don't want any side hanging down more than the other. You're going to hold it in your hand and adjust it with your other hand. You're just going to pull it until it is, if it's 2 inches off the table, you want the entire wreath to be 2 inches off, every section of it, right? Now holding that placement, I'm going to make a knot. I'm checking it again to make sure before I tighten it down that it is balanced, and it is. There, see, there's a little extra. I'm just going to clip it off, no problem. Here is my beautiful bead, and I'm going to feed those 3 pieces up through the middle. So when you're choosing beads or you're choosing pearls, be sure that you have one that has a bigger opening in it so that you can slip the whatever you're using to hang it from right through it. All right, and then to hold that in place and to give it a more of a decorative look, because you know I love rustic, I am going to slip that knot all the way down to the top to lock that beautiful pearl bead into place. And it doesn't slide, it doesn't move. Gives it a little weight. Perfect. You could also make this on a larger scale if you would like. So now I'm thinking, how are we going to make this hang? There's got to be some way to make it hang, right? So what can we do? It's balanced, yes. And my mind is going, how are we going to make this work? Aha. I'm going to add a little bit of some type of super glue. I'm using E6000. I'm going to put that glue right down in there with those pieces, pull it kind of to the side, and then stuff the ends in. You can use some type of a poking tool to shove it in there so that all of the ends are stuck down in that glue. It's going to take a little while for the glue to dry. You know how it works. It's going to take a little while, so you need to set it aside and let it dry. Or you can add a little bit of hot glue on there to help hold it in place until your better long-lasting glue dries. Simple. Now I have a strong knot, I have a strong loop, and everything should be secured. Once we've given it some time to really set up and hold, I'm going to check again to make sure everything's balanced. I don't want to be giving y'all anything that's not going to work, you know. You spend your time on my channel, we want to make sure that you get your time's value from it. And then I'm going to make a little bow. All I'm doing is wrapping some more jute about 8 times, or no, it's probably wasn't even 8 times, 6, 7, 8 times around my fingers, tie it in the middle to make a little fluffy bow. And then I'll put it right at the top and just glue it in place. And I do, right before I filmed the final result of this, I did actually add a little bit of greenery to the top of it. So if you want to leave it like this and you're happy with this, you can certainly leave it just like this. I want to give you some more options, so I decided I would add a couple of jute bows, little bitty bows, to each one of these little pieces of ornaments. And for those of you who are watching who came on the Crafty Cruise, this would be probably a good time maybe to use the finger bow that Kendra taught you, right? You might want to use those bows here. Just make them little, pull them down little. All right, and I'm going to add this right on top of where the bead meets the top of the ornament. And we'll do that for each one. Just a very simple little bow. You can certainly make it just like I'm doing it if you would like. And to me, this just gives it a little more of a shabby chic look. Now I'm going to be adding in a little of my rustic. You know I love my rustic. So I got these picks. Then I'm going to peel each of these little pieces of greenery from. I don't know if this is some type of a fern. I think it is. And I'm just going to pick the pieces off. I love the fact that they have a darker greenery and they're lighter on the end, like the coloring, because to me, it looks like spring, right? Looks like new growth. So I thought it would be perfect for this. I'm going to go all the way around this in the same direction. We're going to overlap and go in the same direction. I'm going about halfway up to put the next piece down so we don't have a bunch of bald spots in there. Easy to do. You can also use floral wire here if you don't want to use glue for this, but the glue has worked perfectly for me. I am using Gorilla Glue sticks in this mini gun. So I'm going to go all the way around here very easily. This would be a good opportunity for you to get into your scrap box and all those little extra pieces of greenery that you peel off of things. Go ahead and use that on this. That would be really nice. Continue all the way around. And when the outside of it is done, this is how it's going to look. I'm going to take these little Dollar Tree flowers. I'm going to cut the little back off and start gluing those down into the fern pieces and then, you know, around them. I like the yellow. There is a yellow in the ornaments that I'm using, and I thought this would be a really pretty way to kind of bring that out. So we've got the vintage look, and we also have that sort of a rustic woodland look that I love to bring into all of my projects. And if you wanted to leave the little stem piece on the back of the flower to give it a little lift, you could do that. My reasoning for cutting these down is that this wreath is very tightly wound and I don't have a place to tuck any of these little stems. So I decided to just cut them off and put them flush against the wreath. Then I'm going to move on to the top and grab the rest of those little pieces that I had. Do the same technique. Go all the way in one direction, and I'm just kind of bending it a little bit so it continues the curve of the wreath. All the way around until we're back at the beginning. Be sure that you don't press down any of the hanging pieces that are going to hold this up. Just go around it and through it. You can kind of weave it through fern pieces. Then I'll get some more of those flowers, and I'm going to put these all over here, and I love the look of these little wildflowers against this beautiful fern greenery. But I encourage you to use any color little flowers that you want that match whatever pieces that you have hanging down on your mobile. Mobile? Mobile. Mobile. So many options, y'all. Make it your own. Okay, so here this one is, once we've got it hanging, you can see the little sprig of greenery up there on the bow. And then I just took a couple of the extra pieces and wound them around the jute, and it sticks in there perfectly. It's got those little barbs on it, so they stick in there perfectly. And I like the look of this. It's so sweet. It could be a candy jar. It could be any type of jar you want to use it for. It could also just be decorative. So we're going to need paint brushes and paint. This little jar from Dollar Tree. A little thrifted bunny. Does this look like Peter Rabbit? I think it is. This was thrifted too, but you can get similar pieces at Dollar Tree. I'm going to use some thrifted paper flowers in this beautiful color. And then these I found at the thrift store, but you know, they're just little detailed little fabric flowers. You can use tiny flowers. You can even use paper flowers if you want. Some older ribbon. It's more like a trim because it's got a rounded edge, right? And I will be using another piece. So you're going to go ahead and clean this off with alcohol, with soap and water, whatever you want to use. I'm just using window cleaner on mine. Works perfectly and it smells good. All right, then after we have thoroughly dried them, we are going to add on our paint. Y'all want to take the opportunity to let y'all know that y'all are not alone. You're not alone. Please don't ever think that you're alone. You have this whole community of people that you can chat with and talk to right in the comment section. And you can email me if you need to email me. All right, so let's add that on and we'll let it dry. I'm going to put a different color on the top. But you can still use the same color on the top if you would like to do that. I love this green. I love all the green chalk paints that I've invested in. They're, you know, I love green. I love the greens. And then you need to be sure that you let everything dry. And I'm just going to use my little tool here so I can continue on this project for y'all. I'm making a new card for the members in my channel, so I just wanted to go ahead and say to all of my members, thank you very much for being here. The things that you do for my channel financially are helping everybody else to have free content to watch. So thank you so much for that. You are so appreciated. All right, I'm going to use my glue gun here to just heat up the bottom of that little foot. We're going to use pieces of greenery wire, and we're going to strip off the green part and take the wire right out of the inside. So if you have a thicker wire already, then you can use your wire that you have for this. We need to do something to make a stand for his feet, and you will see what I mean. He's going to stand on top of the box, but to do it securely, we have to kind of pierce the top of the box. So we're going to take those little areas where we kind of weakened that rubber or plastic that he's made out of, and just wiggle, 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 and that's going to work. And we're going to do the same thing over here, and that will work. So once I know that this is going to be nice and stable, we can take those wires back out. Perfect, perfect. It's going to work great, I think. Had to have him standing, y'all. He's got tiny feet, though. Not a lot of room to work. So we're going to take the glue. You're going to use a permanent glue so nothing comes out, and then go right back in those holes that we worked so hard on in each foot. And then we're going to allow that a little bit of time to set up and dry before we put him on the lid. How's everybody feeling today? Y'all good? Are we getting spring weather? Is everybody excited? Are you seeing any new growth on the trees? Are you seeing any flowers popping up? I know down here in the south we are. All right, so now to find his placement, I'm just going to flip over the top, push his little feet down in there so it makes a little score mark, and then I'll take my awl, and since I didn't have my hammer, I'm going to use my tool over here and knock it down through there. Make a little hole, put the little wood block underneath it so that I don't, poke a hole in my table. Now I've got my holes, and I can go right back in the other side and make it nice and smooth by just twisting it around. Now it's perfect. And we didn't scratch our paint by putting his feet on there. Now we can go through the wires, or the wires through the little openings we made. Perfect. It's going to fit perfectly. So I want to put something around the top of that wreath. We want him to look like he is standing in a field of flowers. So in order to get the right shape, I flip the lid over, and I'm going to start making that wind around here. I couldn't leave it as is when it was bound, it was wound up in that little bundle, because it's too big. So I had to unwind it and then rewind it in a way that it will fit right on the top. If you do it inside the lid this way, you're going to have the perfect measurement for that. So once I got it as thick as I wanted it to be, I pulled it out, flipped a piece off, and then I'm going to take the tail, which is about 12 inches, and wrap that all the way around it. So it's almost like making a wreath from it. Just going to keep wrapping until it is nice and secured all the way around to the front. It's going to put those little pieces of berries or flower buds or whatever you want to imagine they are all over there, and it's going to be nice and pretty. And it is the perfect size. Perfect. Don't you love it when something comes out right? It's experimental, but you do it and it works. I love it. Then I love telling you about it to help you out. I'll grab some of that E6000. I'm going to bop, bop, bop it all over the top in different little sections here so that it does not come off. You still need to be delicate with it if you're taking the lid on and off, though. You should still be delicate. In between those sections, we're going to add hot glue so we have something to hold it in place while the other glue sets up and gives us a good, strong, hopefully permanent hold. I'll make sure it's positioned correctly and then press it down for a few minutes. I'm going to take those little beads or the little buds, and I'm going to flip those out Make them nice and fluffy looking. Nothing needs to be kind of squished down. We want them to be airy and light because that's what spring is, right? Airy and light and joyful. Then I'll grab my little fabric flowers. You can also use, there's little foam flowers, I think, at Dollar Tree. So if you wanted to do this on a bigger scale, you could use those little foam pieces. I just like the miniature jars and miniature gift ideas because you're giving them the gift of what you're creating, plus you're going to have something inside that's going to be that extra surprise, you know? People like those kind of things. I know I do anyway, and my kids do. So I'm going to go around here and make this like a little fairy ring or something really pretty. An option for you could be to put this on here. This is like a little, y'all tell me. It's like a little doily, but it's somebody knitted it, or is it called crewel? I don't know. I don't sew and I don't do any of the knitting and yeah, I don't do that. So I know somebody knows those. So if you don't mind telling me what you think that is. But you could leave it like that if you want to, and it'll give him something very vintage looking and very pretty and lacy and again Eastery and springy for him to stand on. But I do end up doing something a little more because you know I'm extra like that. Now I'm going to make a little bouquet because it looks like he should be holding something in his little paws, right? So I'm making him a bouquet out of a scrap piece of wire from Floral, and then I'm adding the little flowers right on top of it. Once I know that it's the right fit, I'm going to take that and put hot glue on it and press it down, give it a chance to dry. And then the stem that is in his little paw on this side, I'll add a little bit of glue and hold that in place for a moment. And look how sweet that is. He is going to someone's house with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Now we can trim down the wires on his feet because we really don't need that much. We just need enough to go through and hold to the bottom. I'll feed those little lines right through. And then I can just bend those together. They need to be flat, so I'm just going to bend them in place here. I'll add hot glue to cover it up so that nothing pokes through. And then I'll cut a piece of cardboard that will fit in here with a little space around because consider the fact you got to put this lid back on. You want to make sure there's a little gap all the way around where the top of the jar will sit down. If you don't, you can't get the lid back on, okay? So be sure you do that. I'm adding a little more glue to secure him here. And then I grab this beautiful piece. Somebody sent me some trims and ribbons in a couple of different boxes. It was wonderful. It was some things that she said she wasn't using anymore. So thank you for that, by the way. And yeah, I'm getting to use them now. So the white piece that's down there, actually, I believe came from her. I am going to add some glue. This is just kind of putting almost like a collar on here. It just gives it a pretty look, I think. And then once I know I have that in the right space, be sure that you start and stop your line in the very back of the jar, whatever you want the back of the jar to be. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to overlap it with this beautiful white, it's almost like a satin with a lace overlay. Very sweet. Right on top of that, right on the line underneath where the jar will screw back down. Because, like I said, we want this to be a functioning jar, so we have to be sure that we don't interfere with the two parts that connect together. So this just goes underneath it, and it won't be in the way when we put that sweet little top back on. Protect your fingers. Protect your fingers. And then we'll trim it off when we get back around to the end, making sure that we have enough to overlap and that there's no janky pieces hanging down. I'm going to just glue that flat. And then that's, of course, the back. Trim off anything that looks weird. And I really like the look of that. I like that that blue matches the jacket that the bunny is wearing. We're going to take the extra little piece of the overlay that was on that ribbon. I just cut a little piece off. And we're going to add that to his arm where the bouquet is. I just think it's cute. I think it's gonna carry up that pretty vintage lacy look right to the top, like we have on the bottom. It's just something unexpected, you know? I like the unexpected things. So this is how he looks. And then I can screw the jar lid back down and position him where, you know, the lid where it's back where it needs to be toward the front, not where the ribbon starts and stops. Then I decided, oh yeah, we're going to add some more dimension to this. So I grabbed my other flowers and add those around him right on top of the little ring that's on top of the jar. You don't have to do this if it's too much for you. Just, you don't do it. Just don't do it, you know. I like it this way, so this is how I make it my own. Now, I've got a ribbon that's got string beads on it, and I thought, let's put some pearls on there. I mean, why not? We had pearls in the other project, and this will kind of, you know, give it a little more, you know, the factor. So we're going to add that right here. If you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm on my journey to the silver play button of 100,000 subscribers, and I can only do it with you. So only do that though if you really enjoy the content that I make here, okay? And I appreciate it so much. All right, we went all the way around and clipped it off in the back, and then I'm going to take a couple of extra pieces because why not? And I'm going to add those in there as another little surprise element. Just cuteness. Look at this. Yes. And then you can put your favorite treats on the inside. Here's another look at it. What would you put in your little jar? Ooh, some Jordan almonds. We're going to start off with some Dollar Tree daisies. I have some ranunculus and some little greenery picks. This is a pick that I took off something else, and a scrap of beautiful ribbon. Little cup that I got from the thrift store. I thought this was a beautiful cup, and it was all by itself. It was screaming for a project. I'm going to use a floral cone or a foam cone. I'm going to use this little TEMU chic ornament. 2 small doilies. These are paper, and some school glue. I'm going to start by choosing the front and the back of the project. So this has a chip. We'll put it to the back. We're going to take that little knife from Dollar Tree, and we're going to trim down this so that it will fit the right size into the cup. We want it to look like this. If you have a straight-sided cup, you can use just a plain old block or a plain old pool noodle in there. This fits nicely and it doesn't extend over the top, so I'm going to add some Gorilla Glue to the sides. And then it's very easy to just press this down, and it's going to kind of push the glue down and sandwich it between the walls of the cup and the foam. It'll hold it in place nicely. And just for a little extra assurance, I'm going to add a little hot glue right around the edge as well. I'll take my broken school glue top, and I'm just going to put this all around my doily. A little bit on the edges and definitely some in the middle. You can leave a little gap in there because we're going to need to put a stick in later. I'm carefully lining this up so I can still see through the little lace cutout. Press that all down so you got no lumps. And we're going to trim down our beautiful flowers. So I'm just going to cut off the little pieces that we don't need. I'll be getting rid of the greenery on these daisies because they look kind of cheapy. I don't like it. Then we'll start with these floral picks. These greenery picks. I only have 3. So I'm going to make them into 6 pieces. I'm going to cut them kind of short there, going toward the end, and we'll have enough to make a little triangle arrangement in here. So we'll bend it down and then push it into the foam so that it's almost laying flat with the cup, on top of the cup. Just like this. Bend it kind of down or flat. And you can see that we've created sort of an upside down triangle form here with these pieces. Then we're going to take the thinner pieces and we'll put those on the top. They're a little bit longer. We're just going to kind of put those in the little gaps between where we've already put down some greenery. Love the color of these. Love that they're on wire picks. Very easy to use. You can get your greenery from Dollar Tree. I think ferns would be really pretty in this project. Definitely pretty in Victorian things. Just my opinion. And now we have the base of our floral arrangement. We're going to start by adding the beautiful roses right down in the center. You can see already the shape that is beginning to form here, and that's the idea. Now we're going to step these down. Cut your pieces where you need to cut them. However, much length you need, leave it on there, cut off when you need to make it shorter, and you can see that it's sort of a little step down here. We're going to leave this cluster of 3 in the middle. Then I'm going to take the individual pieces and make sure that we are going, kind of making a line from the top of the tallest flower to the widest part of the greenery below. And that's going to give us our shape. If you didn't get what I was saying, don't worry, just watch what I'm doing and you'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to add these in until I use as much as I would like. You can put them in groups of 2s, you can put them in groups of 3. Whatever looks best to you. It's about what brings you joy, right? So the daisies now, I'm going to take those and we're going to go between and around the pink flowers. If you have flowers that are out of shape, you can use a little bit of heat on them, turn them upside down, flatten them out on the table, and just add a little heat and they'll iron straight out. They'll just press the little mishaps all out. This particular piece of daisy has 2 on the pick. I want to make sure that I continue my shape by putting the tallest one toward the center, and then it makes a little step almost down. See how that works? Same here, the tallest one's going to go toward the center and the shorter one will go down. That's going to help us keep that shape, which is exactly the shape I'm going for in this arrangement. And in most of my tiny arrangements, I think I do the same thing. I'm going to continue around until I use as many as I want, and I did use the entire pick to do this. This is what we have so far. So I pick it up and look to make sure that I have some balance in my project and that I have filled everything out. I don't want holes in there anywhere, but I also don't want to just be sticking things in there that don't make sense. I want it to have some type of a story. So that's what's going on in this little project. Since my foam was white, rather than painting it and having to wait on all that, I just took the greenery off of the thrifted flowers and I'm just going to glue them down around the edge of the foam so that they overhang the cup a little bit. It's going to make it look fuller and it will be green rather than white. Just makes it look a little more realistic in my opinion. But if you got green foam, go ahead and use that. I'm just going to continue around until I get as much coverage as I want there. And I like the look of this. Pretty little arrangement. So now we're going to start making our pick. We're going to take that pretty little, is this a duck or a chick? You can't be sure. I think it's a little chicken. Who knows? Either way, it's a bird. And that's what I wanted to use in these projects. So that's what we're going to be using. So I'm just going to open up a little bit where I had a gap and stick a little popsicle stick. This is a real thin popsicle stick. I got a bag of these. I guess they're craft sticks. Maybe sucker lollipop sticks, I don't know. Thrifted them, so they were not in, they were just in a Ziploc bag. Don't know really where you could get them. And then I'm gonna just put a little piece of paper over it where I hot glue it in. Once it's cool, so it's not moving around, I'm gonna place it down in my arrangement where I like it. And I like to just put like the edge of a pick down in there so that you can still see the picture. I don't want it to be submerged completely in there. Then I'm going to take a little lacy looking ribbon, and you can find really pretty ribbon at Dollar Tree. I've always had luck at every Dollar Tree I've gone to. They've had lots and lots of ribbon options. So be sure that you check out the ribbons and see what you like, or you don't have to put anything on the cup if you don't want to. But I know that with my history of doing projects that are sort of retro or vintage, there's a lot going on, especially on the Victorian, style things, and that's kind of what I wanted this to be reminiscent of. And I think I hit the mark here with the colors and things. You let me know what you think, but I certainly like the project, and it does look vintagey to me. It also looks like something that would be super special to gift to a friend or a family member or somebody in a nursing home who doesn't have a lot of space that maybe could use a little brightening of their day. Great little idea for that. Okay, so I'm just going to take this scrap of ribbon. This is about 2 feet of ribbon if I had to guess, but you don't need that much. I've used this in other projects that I love this ribbon. I'm sad to see it go. I may have another roll hidden somewhere, not sure. Just a really simple bow here, tied in the center, and then I'm going to measure it against the side of the cup to see how much I need to cut off. And this will be a little dovetail. You can do your bow any way you want to, and again, if you like something simpler, more of a farmhouse look with not so much going on, you don't have to add the lace, you don't have to add the bow. But to be true to my little vintagey heart, I thought that this would be the perfect solution. A little bit of my own, a little bit of inspired vintage. What do you think about that? I really love this one. Super cute. So who would you give this to? If you made this as a gift, who would you give it to? You think of a special aunt or sister, maybe your grandmother, maybe mom. We're going to use pipe cleaners, mesh and burlap, some greenery, whatever you like. I love these big picks. They were actually from Christmas. And then I've got some baby's breath, some little random clips, some Dollar Tree florals, and these were thrifted. And then some willow and some little flyaways. This is a pick from a Dollar Tree sign. It is 18 inches long. I always like to save the yard pick sticks. And then this cute little Easter greeting sign. Now, I got this after thrift store, but thrift it if you want to. You can definitely get it from Hobby Lobby. If you can get it 40% off right now, that would be great. So I was tickled to death when I saw that that paper was not actually cut. It was just pushed into the hole. So I just pushed the paper back out so I didn't have to use any type of, putty or anything to fill the hole in. Just with a little hot glue in the back, it just popped it right back into place like it never was punched out. And I cannot tell you how happy those little things make me. They bring me a lot of joy. Look at that. You can barely even tell. All right, so let's prepare this steak here. I'm going to take one pipe cleaner and go about 1 inch from the end. And I'm just approximating the inch. I'm going to wrap it so that it's in the center. And you can lock it in with a little bit of glue. If you wrap it tight enough, though, you won't have to do this, but strictly up to you. So I'll show you how to do it with the glue if you're concerned. Not everybody has the strength in their hands, so you can use a little glue to help you. We're going to go about 4 inches down, and then we're going to make our next one. Now this one is going to be off to the side. Then we'll put another one right butted up next to it and twist it off to the other side. It only takes a few twists and they'll stay right there. Use your glue, add a little glue there and hold it into place. The next one is going to be in the center. We're going to alternate back and forth. So we did one in the center, and then 2, and then 1. And here we are back at the 2. 4-inch segments going down. Okay, and then the last one down here is just going to be a single one, just like the single one on the top. And this is what your pick will look like. 4 inches, 4 inches. Get them spaced out nicely. I'm going to use some of this Deco mesh. Use whatever you like. Whatever kind of Deco mesh you have, you can use here. I like this white. It came from the thrift store. Point that little bunch downward. You're going to take about 1.5 inches of that unraveled stuff. Point it toward the inside so you won't see it. And then we're going to go to 16 inches here. Is it 16 inches? You'll have to go back and look at that. I can't quite recall. This might have been 12 inches. I don't want to get you confused. Just be sure that you go back and look at that and make sure. I don't have my glasses on, y'all. I know that's bad, isn't it? That's so bad. I need to go back to the eye doctor too. Same thing, whatever poof you start with, you're going to use that same measurement all the way. You can use a yardstick for this, whatever you want to use, but I have found that the width of this little stake is enough to hold it against the side of my cutting mat, which makes this process a little bit easier when you do these. Just discovered that. Maybe it will be helpful to you as well. So we're just going from the top in the center to the outside, in the center to the outside, back to the center down here in the bottom. You see? Easy. We're going to turn it upside down and continue down the rest of the side. We're going to start in the next available piece, make our poof, and put it in there and lock it into place. That's easy enough, right? And what I am trying to accomplish with this is to make this look wider. That stake is only what we use to hold our pieces in place, right? So we're going to establish the width of this by using the Deco mesh. And you really won't notice that much of the Deco mesh when you do your project. Okay, I'll tell y'all this too. This cream color Deco mesh, I got at the thrift store. You can get it at Hobby Lobby, use a coupon, whatever you have to do to get it cheaper. Because the mesh that they have at Dollar Tree that's white has some iridescence in it, and I just didn't think it was appropriate for my taste in this project. So I tend to kind of like the ones that are plain and they don't have all that glittery looking stuff in them. Just my choice though. Once you're back to your starting point, go ahead and cut it off. Now I didn't show you this one, but here it is. This is a 10-inch piece of Deco mesh. We're going to do 16 inches and we're going to do 3 of these. We're going to cut 3 pieces 16 inches, and lo and behold, this was a scrap and I had just enough. Love it when that happens. I'm using up some of the things I already have in my stash. Okay, so there's our 3 little pieces here. I'm going to put my wreath to the side, or my swag to the side. We're going to start on this piece by just making a couple of rolls, walk your fingers up, and turn that one also under. You can use clips if you need to. These are called a woodland ruffle or a criffle. From the videos that I have seen, that's the terminology they use, so that's what we're going to go with. That's how I learned it. Looks sort of like a butterfly, doesn't it? Okay, so same process here. I know I got out of frame a little bit, but you're going to roll the sides and walk your fingers toward each other like that. You can flip them up instead of down if you want to, but because I'm adding a bunch of greenery here, I don't want anything extra to snag when I'm trying to place down the greenery. So these big pieces are only going to go down the single sections. We're going to do something else with the ones that are off to the sides. So the top, the middle, and the bottom will have a cruffle, and we're going to arrange them so that they look like a bow tie, so just have them going side to side. Okay? I didn't have any more of that one, so that's why I started using this one. We're going to use 16 inches of this thinner one. This one came from Hobby Lobby and I got it on sale. So we're making little bows with this. Because we can't make a cruffle the same size, it would be tiny. But this will allow us to have a bigger piece. It looks like a bigger piece anyway. It's going to make it wider, and that's what I want. So there's one off to the side. Show you one more time how to make another one. Walk it together, and there you go. Now you can just place that down right there. And I want these to kind of go toward the middle and the side as well, rather than up and down, because I want it to be wider, right? Not bulkier, but wider. So we're going to do it to the sides. Same process right here. So you'll end up with 4 of those little bows. This is what it looks like once you've got it complete. You got your singles, and here are your doubles. You can go ahead and cut off what you have here. Now be sure that you've given it a good tight twist on all of them before you do this, because you can't go back and correct it when you cut too much off. So I'm using some 26 gauge wire. Use whatever you like. This is just really easy to bend, and it's already cut into the right size pieces, so I have plenty of room to feed them through the Deco mesh and the burlap looking stuff that we have there. Stuff, boy, that sounds professional, doesn't it? Burlap stuff. The ribbon, y'all. The ribbon. So I'm just going to start off with my picks here and just fluff them out. They can be flat on the back, but kind of splay them out a little bit so that we make this You know, give it some width. It's already got the height there, but we want to balance it a little bit with a wider width. I'm going to shape this into like a hairpin. So that's what you see me doing here. I'm just trying to get that right. Then I'll go from the bottom up through the middle and across those two pieces of greenery that I just placed down. This is going to hold it into place. I'm going to give it a good couple of twists, and then we can twist out and flip out this greenery underneath to the sides without worrying that anything is going to fall apart. It is not going to fall apart. My baby breath happens to come on picks of 3. They have, you know, when you cut them, they have 3 little pieces, or 3 little bunches, I guess. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Rather than putting a bunch of little pieces in there, I'm just going to use the whole pick and just spread them apart. We're going to lay them right over the top of the other greenery, and we're going to take the same wires there and lock those into place so they're not going anywhere. If this is squished down tight in the center, that's totally okay, because we're going to need a flat surface to put down the little sign that we got, right? So don't worry about that. You can squish it down tight in the middle. I want to add some more baby's breath because I just love the flyaway, springy look that this gives. Really like that. Then I've got the willow, and these are just some scraps I had from another project. I did a wreath not too long ago, an Easter wreath that turned out beautifully. It was so gorgeous. You know, some people say you shouldn't toot your own horn, but God gives me my gifts, and I'm giving Him the glory. That's how it happens on my channel. Thank you, God. I appreciate it. I love my gift. And I'm so glad to share it with others, right? That's what we do. It's a gift. You share it, right? So we're going to have something to attach this down. This is metal. You want to use a strong glue here. So Gorilla Glue did the trick for me, but just be careful when you are fastening it down, because if you do fasten it down and too tightly, it can pop off. We don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to feed those pipe cleaners through there and then loop it around on the back. Maybe you could add a little bit of super glue or something to there. So say you did add super glue or Gorilla Glue or something like that. It has to dry. Just hold something on top of it to hold it in place until that dries. So that's what I use my little conductors for. My little electrical insulators. That's what I use them for. Y'all remember these things? They came on light poles. There were a bunch of different colors, but oh, I found these 2 blue ones at the thrift store and almost lost it, y'all. Have you ever just found something at a garage sale or a thrift store and you just clutch your chest and just want to collapse? Well, that's where I was when I found those. Oh, I'm a little silly this morning. Y'all forgive me. Gotta laugh, don't we, though? We have to laugh. It shows that we have joy in our heart when we can laugh. And I sure do have some joy in my heart. And I appreciate y'all. Y'all put up with a lot from me. My shaky hands, saying words wrong, all those little things that they really just show you who I am. That's really me. I'm showing you who I really am. And if you like that and you stick around on this channel, it is very appreciated, because I'm authentic and you're always going to get the same thing from me when it comes to that. Okay, so these beautiful daisies, they're so pretty. These I picked out of a wedding. It looked like a wedding arrangement, maybe something a bridesmaid had. All kinds of beautiful flowers in it. I found it at the thrift store. I pulled that wax tape off of there, the floral tape, and scavenged for what I needed. I'm going to go back in and add more baby's breath, and I'm going to add some more of those pink wildflower looking things from Dollar Tree. You can get baby's breath. It's a little different, but you can get it at Dollar Tree. You can get daisies at Dollar Tree in a variety of colors right now. So maybe you don't want to do white. There's so many colors. I've seen coral, I have seen blue, I've seen purple, yellow, just a huge variety. So get them this spring if you think you might need them later. Go ahead and get them now. I had some of these little roses left, so I'm going to stick those in there. I think that keeps the feeling of the Victorian, that loose wildflower look, you know, what you would have in an English garden, things like that. That's kind of what it reminds me of. So we're going to take that original little ribbon hanger and we're going to use it as a hanger to go on the back of this, and we're going to hot glue it right onto the stick back there. tuck it up underneath that wire if you need to. Okay, so we're going to start with this little egg ornament. Got it at the thrift store. You can get yours at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Going to use a little water. We're going to have some baby wipes, brown paint. We have this little jar lid, some paper flowers. These are so pretty. Some have writing, some are ruffled, some have a bead in the middle. It's just a big variety. And then we're going to find something for the center of our pedestal. And I'm going to use some lace trim. We'll of course start by taking off our tags. No mini purling around here. Take that off. And then decide what's the front, what's the back. I'm going to show you an idea of what you can use. So here's a variety. I'm checking it out to see what I might want to use in the center. I'm looking at the scale. I don't want anything overwhelming my egg. Can you guess which one I chose? All right, so I'm going to add some chocolate brown paint. We're just going to make a stain here. Very simple. Use whatever type of brown shade that you like for this. I like a darker shade when I am working with vintage type looks. So we're going to take this. This is a wooden top now. This is wooden top from a candle. Be sure that you clean it and get all the wax off. You don't want any wax. You don't want any soot. Scrub it off. Get it off. Dry it, and then you can start putting down your stain that you just made. And I love the color that this makes it. Putting it on with a baby wipe makes it so easy, and it's easy to build up your the darkness or the richness of the shade. This is the little spool that I decided to use. I like that it is thinner in the middle and that it is wider toward the top where we will sit the egg, and the bottom where it will rest on that lid. And it's the same process as we did on the lid. We're just going to put it on here, and we're going to wipe some off, get it as rich as you would like. And because we're not using antique wax, you don't have to worry about it not sticking to the glue. Let those dry, and the color will change slightly when they're dry. We know we're going to put this in the center, so here we go with this Gorilla Glue right around there. And then I'm going to eyeball it. Y'all know I always refer to it as eyeballing. I don't measure very much here on this channel. You noticed that, right? So what looks good to my eyes, good enough for me most cases. Okay, so now it is glued in place, and we're going to take some lace that was on that little spool. I got it at the thrift store. You can get lace anywhere. And if you don't want to do this part, you don't have to, but if it's vintage and it's Victorian, you got to have some lace on it. So I'm going to add a little piece of this here, right around the center, and then push it down, make sure there's no wrinkles and that you can't really notice the overlap very much. So I'm just going to add a little glue where it's kind of lifted there, where I didn't get it all the way to the edge, to make sure it's nice and smooth so it almost looks like a band around it. Okay? Now once that is done, I'm going to add some glue, but I want to put it right toward the center because I don't want this to be seen when we squish the egg down. I don't want to make a big mess because we want this to have a high-end look, not cheap, right? So this is how it's going to look when it is in place, and we're going to just keep embellishing and adding because it's going to be pretty. These beautiful little flowers, you can probably get these at Hobby Lobby. Be sure you get them when they're on sale or clearance or something. I got these at the thrift store. I know y'all are sick of me saying that, and some people still don't believe me, but I assure you that it is true. If I need to start doing some live videos with thrift store hauls, y'all please let me know, because if that interests you, I will do it. I love sharing my finds. I get so excited. I come home, and if my daughter's here, my oldest daughter, I show her what I got. I usually have things. So we're going to continue around, and I'm trying to kind of alternate which patterns or, colors I have side by side. They're all this really pretty shade of blue, which very closely resembles the color that's in the egg and the color in the little cup that we did. So these three pieces are going to work well together, I think, in my opinion. We're going to leave that bow that's already on there, and we're going to work on this edge. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that it has an edge on it, and I'm going to put down some of these pearl sticker beads. You can definitely find something like this at Dollar Tree. I'm going to go right around the edge because it looks like the perfect ledge to put it. Now it does have an adhesive back, but I want to add some hot glue to make sure nothing comes off. I want this piece to last a long time because this piece will be going in my cabinet of the things that I do not ever break down or get rid of. And that's what it looks like. I would love it if you enjoy the content in this video, if you'll stick around by subscribing and hitting the notification bell, because you don't want to miss it, right? We don't want to miss the things we love. And here are my joyous vintage Easter pieces that I know that you can do. Here is our beautiful swag with the little chick. Then we have a chick on our little cup here. I think the pieces work well together, and I do think they look vintagey. I hope that you think so too. I hope that you came to the channel and you found some inspiration so that you can go and make something of your own. Here's the little chick on the egg pedestal. There's something about babies, baby animals of all sorts. They're just so precious. Here are those projects one last time together. You'll be needing some pipe cleaners, some type of a mesh or a burlap. I have some ribbons from Dollar Tree, 2 different kinds. And then a variety of flowers, a couple of big ones, and then some of these smaller ones. And you'll need a Dollar Tree wreath. This is not the largest, but it's the next one. Here's that information for you. We'll start by prepping this wreath form. Gonna grab those pipe cleaners, and we're going to start off by going around on the inside ring of the wreath. Wrap it around right there, and we'll go all the way around it. Then we'll come back around on the outside and go around the crossbars on the outer section of the wreath. I think this is going to make like 12 different sections. Okay, so now I'm going to take my, I don't know what type of material this is. It's a plasticky, I think it's supposed to look like burlap, but it came from the thrift store, so I'm not entirely sure what the material is, but I like it, and I like the color. So we're going to make cruffles, or I think they're also referred to as a woodland ruffle, and they're easy to use, and to make, and I'm just showing you how to do it if you need to use the clips. You roll it over, and then clip it, and then roll the other end, and then walk your fingers together to make these little pretty cruffles. Now you can put them down like I do, or you can turn them over and put them the other way so that the rolls are on the top. To me, it's just a preference, whatever you like best. Looks sort of like a bow tie when you put them on this way. And we're going to do the inside and then the outside, the inside, the outside. You could do all the inside first and then do the outside, or vice versa, but when I put them on this way, I like how they overlap on one another, going inside and outside. So that's how I'm doing mine, but you can choose whatever way is best for you. It's your preference, make it your own. And then once they're all done, this is how it's gonna look. I'm just kind of fluffing around and making sure that I have these spaced over the wire wreath, and I am pulling out all of those little pipe cleaners because we'll be using those to attach some ribbon down to, so it's easier to go ahead and get them out so you're not searching for them when your hands are full. Then we're going to take the ribbons, and one of them is sort of burlap and the other one's like a thin silky type material, or polyester. I'm not sure. I didn't check the little spool it came on, but I'm going to overlap them. I'm going to put the solid color on the bottom and the printed on the top. I'm going to gather up the end of it, put it down on any pipe cleaner you choose. You can do it on the inside or the outside, doesn't matter. I'm going to keep that top one on top and keep that orange one on the bottom, and we're going to go inside, outside, wrapping over here. If you want to measure, you can measure. It would probably be somewhere between 8 to 10 inch little loops here. I didn't measure. What I do is just lay it on the top of the cruffles, and then just make sure my spacing is right so it appears as though it's just laying are floating right on top. I don't want to squish down my ruffles and take the dimension away or the fullness away from the wreath. So I just make sure that it sits right on top of the one that's underneath it. The important thing is going to be that you make each of these about the same size. You don't want some to be super small and some to be very wide, because you're going to be separating this ribbon and you don't want to have, you know, any type of irregularities in the wreath. I hope that made sense. Again, it's one thing in my head, comes out my mouth another way, but you'll get it in a minute, I think. Okay, so this is how it looks when you get to the end. Now we're just going to take our hands and pull these out. So we'll do orange on the bottom and then print on the top, and then vice versa. So you see, you're going to do it opposite as you go around. This is going to give you some additional dimension and color and interest in your wreath. And you see this piece here, it wasn't quite enough to tuck into that last tie. That's not a problem. I'm just going to put a little split here in it, a little dovetail, and just curl it down and it'll be fine. You really don't even notice it once it's done. So just make sure you have all those nice and fluffed. Those wires help it stay still. This is just a little bouquet that I made to go on the top of the wreath. You're just going to add your flowers, the tallest ones in the back. My camera kind of died and I didn't notice it, so I apologize for not having that in there for you. Then I have this foam carrot that I got from the thrift store. You can get your little fake carrots anywhere. I don't know why I'm so into carrots this Easter and spring, but I really am. Then be sure that you cut off all of these little extra pipe cleaners and you hot glue that little bundle down like this and the carrot on top of it. When you glue that down, you'll get the final result. Okay, y'all, I went in my firewood pile and pulled out this beautiful piece of wood. Beautiful. I've got some scrap wood as well. These are just, cut them from the thrift store. And then some moss from Dollar Tree. These are just random scraps of picks that I had. And then these bunnies came from TEMU. This video is not sponsored by TEMU. They didn't pay me. I just went and bought these myself to see what the hype was. Love them. They're very cute. They're like a resin. And I am going to start off by adding some moss to this base. We're going to refer to this log underneath as our base. So I'm going to add moss here and there. And to me, the places that you would see moss are going to be the areas that have little pockets. It's little pockets where soil would gather when the wind blows, and where seeds would collect, and or spores, depending on what it is you're working with, you know. And I'm just going to lay those in those little areas. This natural wood makes it very easy to decide where to put this greenery. You can get a piece of log out of your yard. You can use whatever you like. You could do this on a wood brand if you wanted to, but you wouldn't have the dimension that you would have on a natural piece of wood. So I am going to continue around, and some of this has natural splits in it, and I guess when they were cutting it, it has some splits in it. Possibly the aging and drying process made it split more. Who knows? But I'm happy that it's there because it's great in a craft project. I couldn't imagine throwing this in the fireplace. What a beautiful piece of wood. Look at that texture and color. It is a stunner. I guess y'all could call me a tree hugger. Yeah, you could probably call me a tree hugger. That wouldn't make me mad. I love trees. Love them, love them, love them. All kinds of trees. Love to see the wind blow. Love to see the leaves fall. Love to see the leaves blooming and the flowers blooming on trees. Just love trees. Love them. Love wood. Love the texture. It's just beautiful and earthy, and, you know, the trees protect our planet. They give us shade. They help with soil erosion. Trees are just awesome. Not to mention all the little bugs and critters that live in trees. Stunning. A natural piece that you could find anywhere to work with. And it's free. You don't have to pay for it. So these little pieces right here are called Farmhouse Witch Hazel. I got them from Dollar Tree. I can rarely find them, but when I do find them, I pick them up. There's a variety of colors I've seen. There is this color green. I've seen white. I have seen pink, peach, Mm, and maybe purple. As well as these little picks here. These little, they look like cockleburrows. They came from Dollar Tree too, but I don't exactly know what those are called. And I only had two pieces left, but these are nice. I've used green with these too. So I'm just going to go down in those areas where the moss is and kind of nestle these in here because we would like to think that where the moss is growing, there's some soil. And if there's soil there, then plants can grow from it, right? Plants or spores or, mushrooms would be really cute in a project like this too. And I want these to look like little, baby trees growing. If you saw my tour, my video of my property, you could see that there are baby trees just growing in there all over the place this time of year. So this is our perfect little make-believe representation of spring and the life that comes from the old. Then this pretty little pick, it's like a fern pick. I don't have enough of this, so look what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this in the shape of a fern tip. Now it's going to look more like a regular fern. Not bad. I'm going to pull them apart. You can use ferns, definitely, that you can get from Dollar Tree. They have really pretty greenery, I noticed this year in their spring section, or their floral section. And I just don't want to just jab this in here. I want it to look like a live fern looks. So by doing that, or by saying that, I want to give it a little dimension where the bottom two pieces are laying more downward and where this top piece is standing up a little bit more. And you can use that moss to help you secure your pieces. When you put your glue down, you can put the moss in there too, and that's going to help hold it in place. Look how this moss will help lift that up. Now see the dimension that we get doing that? Very easy thing to do. I want to put one little piece over here. And then this, if you know what this is, you can tell me, because I'm not entirely sure. But it came in some stuff that I got from the thrift store, and I had two pieces of it, and I use it often in like my display at the end of my videos, which by the way, you will see the final results of all these in the end of the video, like I always do. But I thought they were just so beautiful, the texture in them, and it just looks like a nice little log that would be on the ground, and you can tuck moss down in the holes in there. Nice little place for little creatures and little fairies and gnomes to hide, right? Gotta use your imagination. Let's add some bunnies in here. Let's start putting these down. This little bunny looks like he's coming out of a hole. So we secured him down in that moss, like maybe there's a hole underneath there. You can put a little glue on the back of the head. You can put them on their bottoms to make them stick to the pieces around them. And then I just decided, yeah, let's go ahead and put some moss in some of those holes. Why wouldn't it be growing there, right? Tiny mushrooms would have been adorable here too. So this is how it looks so far. But you know what? It needs to look a little bit more springy, right? Let's make it look a little more springy by adding a bit of color to it. So I've just got it propped up so you can see what I'm doing here, where it's not laying flat. And I'm just going to pull the tops off of these. Now these also came from Dollar Tree. I only had one little piece of it left, one stem. So using it whole is kind of overwhelming. It's kind of too big and not very realistic. So I am just going to tear the tops off or pull the tops off. You can layer them together like this if you would like, and then you can use them separately. Again, I'm tucking these around the little moss patches and in the little areas where there would be some soil that's collected so that they could grow in it. A little more realistic that way, I think. And then I'm going to put my flowers down, and then I'll glue it to my finger just like that. Not important, you don't need to do that. Oh boy, protect your fingers, people, please, please. I love you guys. I don't want anybody getting boo-boos, because then you can't craft. You can't craft with sore fingers. Just be careful. You're just going to continue to add these here and there. And don't forget the back of your project too. Put little sneaky hideaway things back there. So when somebody turns it around expecting not to see anything, there's maybe a bunny popping out the backside or a flower growing out the backside. Like it would if it was a little mountain, or in a little hollow. You can use your tools to get the glue off. I would love it if you would subscribe. Now, only do that if you really enjoy these types of videos where you can save money and make unique creations. I know that you can do it. I know you can do these. You most definitely can, but always make it your own. I thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.